All right, Michael, what's the first great deal that you made? How old were you and what were the specifics?
The first great deal I ever made, I made a lot of deals before, but my first great deal, I was 14 years old. Actually, I was 16 years old. I had run out of money, nearly gone bankrupt with a ski business, and then another ski shop went bankrupt, and they had $200,000 of inventory, and I bought it for $13,000. The only problem was I didn't actually have the money to pay for it, but I made the commitment, figured it out, and sold it for many times what I paid for it.
How did you become this way? Because you weren't like the other kids, right? Not everyone is starting businesses at these ages.
Well, to start with, I have a sister who's a cantor, and she's a phenomenal singer, and I have another sister who's a psychologist, so I'd say we may need to do a DNA check. There's definitely no similarities within my family, and I was definitely within my friends, very different, because again, they were good athletes, they were good students. I was always good as an entrepreneur and in business, and that's what I like to do. So I actually started, as I started to say before, I started my first ski tuning shop when I was 12 years old. By the time I was 14, I did $25,000 in my parents' basement with no overhead, made $15,000 profit. By the time I graduated high school, I had 5 ski shops doing $2.5 million a year in the ski business.
So are your parents like applauding? Are they teaching you this? How does this work? How did this get here?
Well, for me, I have a mom who's a psychiatrist. My father passed away about 15 years ago. He was a veterinarian. I'd say it was very different. I think my mom, when I went to tell her I wanted to open a ski shop when I was 14 years old in a shopping center about 5 minutes from my parents' house, my mom said, you know, Michael, I'm a psychiatrist. I know what's best for you. You should focus on school. She was probably right, by the way.
Well, wait a minute, but didn't you left Villanova after what, 6 weeks?
It might have been 8. I might have done 8 weeks, but those were a difficult 8 weeks.
You just said, though, your mom was probably right. Do you have any insecurity about not being more educated? Clearly, you've had success.
You know, it's funny. I joke with my friends all the time, and I'm like, you know, I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. I'm good at the things I focus on. I'm kind of unaware at things outside of that. So I have no regrets, but if I had to do it all over again, sure. I mean, who wouldn't want to, you know, when you can look back and say, what could I do better? I think college is for most people. I wish that I took it more seriously then, but I also had such a great time building my business. And for me, I love to do what is, you know, for me, fun is work, and so I get to have fun every single day.
Can you tell me about the baseball card business? You mentioned that it was one of the first businesses. How did that one operate?
Yeah, baseball card business, I actually started buying baseball cards from different friends, but instead of selling them to my friends, I actually made a business selling them to my friends' parents. They were much better customers, deeper pockets, and I did that as an 8-year-old.
So wait a minute, where was the first time that you figured out, I have a facility for this? This is a gift that I've been given.
You know, the truth be told, I think you're either born with entrepreneurial genes or you're not, and that's a gift that I was given, so I think I was really born with it. I think the first time I really knew, I opened an actual ski shop about 5 minutes from my parents' house when I was 14. It was about 1,000 square feet. It did about $200,000 the first year in business. I did that as a 14-year-old, and that was something that was a big press story going back, you know, now 30-plus years about a 14-year-old owning a ski shop. And then, you know, that was exciting. At the same time, 2 years later, it didn't snow one season, and I was almost bankrupt. I had $200,000 of bills, $120,000 of inventory, no ability to pay the bills. So, you know, as a teenager, I went through big wins and also difficult losses, and that's kind of, I've learned from each one of those experiences.
Is that the most scared you've been in business, right there?
You know, this is going to sound nuts. I don't get scared. If you said to me right now, the world's coming to an end, I'd be like, okay, how are we going to deal with it? Let's go after the biggest problem first. I'm not a guy to get shaken by things like that. I've seen death in its eyes in business so many times. You know, we sold my last company, GSI Commerce, to eBay for $2.4 billion in 2011. A year and a half earlier, we were in the middle of the financial crisis, and I was almost margined out of the company because our stock had gone down so much. That didn't scare me at all. So I've been through all kinds of ups and downs, and to me, any entrepreneur that hasn't is probably not telling you the truth.
But how does that not scare you, though? Is it because you're that confident, since you're 8 years old, I will make money, I know how to make money?
I think, you know, I had this conversation with Joel Embiid once, and I was talking about, do you ever get uncomfortable when you're at the free throw line, you know, the game's on the line? He's like, I just put the shot up, and, you know, I'm going to give it my best, and that's it. I feel the same way. I put my best game on the floor. for what we do in business every single day. And if it doesn't work, I take my L and I move forward.
The ski shop in your teens, is that how you came about having a Porsche before you were old enough to drive?
Yes. That was part of the reason I went bankrupt, if we're honest with each other. I had the $200,000 of bills, I had the $120,000 of inventory. I also had the Porsche. I think my priorities as a 15-year-old weren't maybe the best.
But were you driving the Porsche legally, or were you just putting it in front of people so that the girls would be impressed?
I think there's probably a statute of limitations that could protect me from answering that question, but it's probably best I don't answer that question. I would never encourage anyone to do anything that wasn't completely legal.
All right, Michael, the only reason you agreed to do this is here. Here he is, Bobby. What do you have for Michael?
Oh, this is a tough one, Michael. I want you to hang in there tough, you know? What is the dumbest thing that you ever bought?
Oh, dumbest money you've spent.
The dumbest money I've ever spent. Wow, that's a really good question. If I said
Nice
the dumbest
job,
money
Bobby.
I've ever, if I had to say the dumbest money I ever spent, it was the Porsche when I was 15 years old. Without
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to say that.
I wasn't old enough to drive. I didn't. I mean, I didn't have the money to really do it, so that had to be the dumbest thing I've ever done.
But you didn't drive it because you would never do anything illegally.
Of course.
Thank you for being on with us.
It's my
Gracias,
absolute
Michael.
pleasure. Thank you,
Gracias,
guys.
gracias, Michael. Gracias.
Thank you.